During the last classes, what we discussed is about the evolutionary computation, the various terminologies used in this evolutionary computation, etc., and the biological equivalents of terminologies used in evolutionary computation. Today, we will start with the genetic algorithm. So, I hope that you already have some basic idea about what is genetic algorithm and how it is being worked and how it is being utilized for solving problems. So actually, genetic algorithm is just a computer algorithm that is resides on the principles of genetics and evolution. So the genetic algorithm is just an algorithm. This is just a computer algorithm which takes its principles or works on the principles of genetics and theory of evolution, the theory of hereditary, how the hereditary parameters or properties are passed from parents to child, etc., etc., and the theory of evolution, that is how new variants of existing organisms are generated, that sort of things. So actually, it is an algorithm that genetic algorithm is an algorithm that imitates the process of natural selection. So in theory of evolution, there is a concept that the survival of the fittest, that is the best fit individual or the best fit organism will survive for the next generation. So the lower fit individuals will die out soon, and the higher fit individuals will last longer and create more offsprings, so that the hereditary properties of that particular individual, that is which has a higher fitness will transfer to its offsprings also. And it is genetic algorithm is a method for solving both constrained and unconstrained optimization problems, that is based on natural selection, the process that drives biological evolution. That is this genetic algorithm is we have already said it is a computer algorithm which mimics the biological evolution process, and this particular biological evolution process is simulated in genetic algorithm in order to solve this constrained and unconstrained optimization problems. We have discussed about the optimization problem. What is an optimization problem? It can either be a maximization problem or a minimization problem, or it can be what is a multi-objective optimization problem, that is which has one parameter has to be maximized and other parameter is to be minimized. And this constraint as well as unconstrained means there may be some constraints, that is some limitations within the parameters, within the settings of the problem. So that is the constraint, and in some cases there may not be any specific criteria which restricts the solutions of the problem. So that is the constrained and unconstrained. In constrained optimization problem, there are some limitations are present, and in unconstrained there is no limitations for the solutions. So that is the difference. So in order to solve this type of optimization problems, genetic algorithm is developed, and it is actually an adaptive heuristic search algorithm based on the evolutionary ideas of natural selection and genetics. So we will look into it in detail. So actually, genetic algorithm is not just an algorithm; it is a class of probabilistic optimization algorithms, which is used to solve problems, which is hard problems. Actually, hard in the sense it cannot be solved optimally. That is, we cannot get the optimal solution in a short span of time using this the conventional optimization methods. So that sort of problems, in order to solve these sort of problems, this genetic algorithm is used. It is not just a single algorithm. Even though there is a single framework on which genetic algorithms works, it is actually a class of different algorithms combined together. And this genetic algorithm is inspired by the biological evolution process, that is the natural selection and genetic inheritance that is put forward. These concepts were put forward by the Charles Darwin in 1859. And this genetic algorithm was originally developed by John Holland, and his first published work was in 1975 about this genetic algorithm. The first work was in 1975. So this John Holland developed, he is an American scientist, and he developed this genetic algorithm in the 1970s. And the early names means the main people who worked for this genetic algorithm in the early days were John Holland, K. De Jong, and D. Goldberg, and out of which the book published by D. Goldberg is in our syllabus. That is the reference book of our in our syllabus. And the main features of genetic algorithm are it is not too fast. It is not as fast as some other algorithms, but the advantage is that it will give you a solution which may be nearer to probably in most of the case it will be most near to the optimal solution. And it is a good heuristic for combinatorial optimization problems. A heuristic is a rule of thumb. That is, in some cases, we know that, as I mentioned in last class, if a ball rolls out of your hand, it will be rolling out to the lowest point in that particular terrain. So that is a heuristic. That is, it is a rule of thumb that the ball has to obey the laws of that is gravity, and it has to roll down to the lowest point in that particular terrain. So a heuristic is a rule of thumb for any given specific problem. There is a rule of thumb that if you proceed in this particular manner, you may reach an optimal solution, or you may get a near optimal solution. It is not guaranteed that every time you will get an optimal solution if you go for a heuristic, but obviously it is a good solution that you will be getting. Thus, the difference between the optimal solution and the solution obtained by a heuristic will not be too large. It won't be too large value. So that is the case. That is where genetic algorithm is a good heuristic for combinatorial optimization problems. And the special features of this genetic algorithm is traditionally it emphasizes combining information from good parents. That is, we go for crossover. We have not described too much, but it involves two different solutions for the same problem, and from by using those two solutions, at least two solutions, those solutions we will be creating a new solution for that particular problem. So if the first two solutions that we created, that we generated or we selected as parents are good solutions, obviously the offspring, the child, will also be a good solution. That is our concept. And the genetic algorithms are actually many different types of genetic algorithms are there. There is many variants are there, and many variants are dependent on the type of reproduction models that is being used, whether it is crossover, whether it is the different types of crossover operators are there, then different types of selection operators are there, different types of mutation operators are there. So depending on the different models of reproduction, the genetic algorithm can be variant, that is can be different. So if a particular person creates a particular genetic algorithm and another one creates another genetic algorithm, both may not be the same. Even though both have the same properties, most of the properties will be same, but some difference will be there. So that is the genetic algorithms will be having many variants. And different operators also, even though the main operators are the selection, crossover, and mutation operators, but in those operators itself, the order in which these operators are applied to a particular population, a particular set of solutions can be different. So that also creates another variant of the same genetic algorithm. So the main terms involved in genetic algorithm and corresponding term in the nature, there's some of these things we have already seen in our the evolutionary computation part, and I'm explaining it again in terms of with respect to this genetic algorithm, the similarity between genetic algorithm as well as the nature. The optimization problem is mapped to the environment in nature. That is, the optimization problem in the genetic algorithm is mapped to the environment in the nature, that we have already seen. And the feasible solutions, that is the candidate solutions, that is the individuals living in that environment. In a particular environment, we consider an environment to be a problem. So the feasible solutions for that particular problem are the individuals that is living in that particular environment. Maybe as these individuals belong to the same species. That is our concept. That is, we are not bothered about many number of species or many species which is living within the environment. We are bothered about only a single species in most of the cases. I'm not saying in all the cases it is the condition, but in most of the cases it is the condition. And in the genetic algorithm, the solutions quality, the quality of the solution, that is the fitness function, the quality of the solution is obtained using a fitness function. The fitness function can be, as we discussed in the case of the traveling salesman problem, the distance traveled can be the fitness function, or the inverse of the distance traveled can be a fitness function. So that depends on the particular type of problem that is under consideration. So actually in nature, corresponding to the nature term, it is individual's degree of adaptation to its surroundings and environment. That is the capability of its survival, the survival of a particular organism or particular individual to the given environment. That is the fitness. And in genetic algorithm, if we consider a set of feasible solutions together, it is known as a population of organisms. Normally, it is considered to be a single species. As I said, in a single species, it is the population of a single species. That is a single set of feasible solutions. Then the stochastic operators, the different operators that is in the genetic algorithm. This different stochastic operators are the selection, crossover, as well as mutation. These are the three stochastic operators that is mainly happening in genetic algorithm. And in nature, it is the same as the selection of the parents, who have to mate. When Charles Darwin did his experiments on pea plants, he selected the parents for which it has to work in order to measure the height of the offsprings that is generated from different varieties of pea plants, and different varieties in terms of its height. So then the selection is the selection of the parents, as well as the selection of the individuals which will survive for the next generation, etc., etc. Then there is a recombination. Recombination is the crossover operator. The crossover, that is recombination, is the reproduction of a particular plant or particular species. In many cases, the recombination involves one male organism as well as one female organism, but in many cases it is single parent reproduction is happening. So in most of the cases, in genetic algorithm, what we are bothered about the recombination is the crossover, that is which has at least two parents involved. Maybe in the real life it is a male parent as well as in the female parent. And there is such as the third operation is mutation. In stochastic operation itself, operator itself, we call it as mutation itself. In genetic algorithm, it is the term is mutation. In nature also the mutation happens. The mutation generally happens to small organisms like a single cell organisms. In the large varieties of organisms like a human being, mutation doesn't happen fastly. So we can consider that the species that is under consideration in genetic algorithm is a single cell organism. Maybe that is the best way, but which reproduces based on some two parent reproduction procedure. Then in genetic algorithm, we are iteratively applying a set of stochastic operators on a set of feasible solutions. That is, we are applying these operators into a set of feasible solutions, that is as a population. So this is similar to the evolution of populations to suit their environment. You might have seen that some sort of birds have long beaks in order to fit to their environment, fit to their way of eating things, so their what you say, eating habits, to suit their eating habits. Some birds have long wings, some have small wings, etc., etc. There are many theories of evolution has been put forward by biologists in nature. So this concept, this particular concept of the theory of evolution is being applied in genetic algorithm also. So another basic, the basic terminologies that is being used, some of them we have already seen, and some of new terminologies we will see. So the one is the population that we already have seen, that is a subset of all the possible solutions to the given problem. So this subset can be considered as a search space, but in most of the cases, a population is actually a subset of the search space also, because search space is a subset of the solution space. You know that you already understood that the solution space is the set of all the possible solutions for a given particular problem. So, and the search space is a subset of that particular solution space. Then a population can be a subset of this search space, and hence, since it is a subset of the search space, it is a subset of all the possible, that is the solution space. So population is a subset of the possible solutions of the given problem. Then this represents, this particular thing represents, see here, this one represents a population. This is an entire population, that is each row represents a specific individual, and each in this case it is a binary representation of the individual, that we will see how each individuals or each chromosomes are represented in the case of genetic algorithm. There are multiple ways of representing them. So in this case, in this particular case that is represented, there are a number of chromosomes represented, and each chromosome is an individual, and each individual represents a candidate solution. So this each row represents a candidate solution, and together all these solutions together is a population, and chromosomes is one such solution to the given problem, like this one. 0 0 0 0 0 1 0 0 1 1. So this is a candidate solution. So one such solution to the given problem is a chromosome, and it is also known as the individual, the candidate solution, etc. So the same thing is known in different names. So that is a chromosome. Now a gene. Gene is one element position in a chromosome. That is in this particular gene, if we consider a specific location, that particular element is this particular element, that is a gene. So this particular element, that particular position is a gene. So then another term is allele. The allele is the value that a gene takes for a particular chromosome. So in this particular gene is that particular position, and in that particular position there is a value that is 0. So 0 is the allele in this particular case. So in this type of representation, that is in this particular case that we have represented in this particular slide, the alleles that a particular gene can take is only 0 and 1. 0 is one allele, and 1 is the other allele that a gene can take. And a number of genes together makes a chromosome, and a number of chromosomes together makes a population. So that is the condition. And other terms that is important in the case of genetic algorithms is genotype. Genotype is the population in the computation space. As I said, as I shown to you in the previous slide, the population of solutions, the population of individuals, that is a genotype. And phenotype is the population in the actual real world solution space. That is This particular representation, that is 0, 1, 0, 1 representation, that 0 and 1 representation may be meaning something in the actual real world solution. That is, suppose we are using this traveling salesman problem. We are bothering about the traveling salesman problem. In that case, the genotype is 1, 2, 3, etc., etc. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever is any permutation. Any permutation is a genotype, is a candidate solution. So all those solutions together is a genotype, and each genotype in that particular type it has a different meaning in the case of phenotype. In the traveling salesman problem, 1, 2, 3 means in the actual traveling salesman problem, what it means is that the traveling salesperson starts from 1, then he moves on to 2, and then he moves on to 3, and he comes back to from 3 to he comes back to 1. So that is 1, 2, 3 if there is only 3 cities there. So 1, 2, 3 means. But in the genotype, it is mentioned as 1, 2, 3. That is the representation. So in the phenotype, it means that it is moving from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 1 again. So that is the difference between genotype. Genotype is the representation, and phenotype is its actual concept within the real world. So then decoding is the process of transforming a solution from genotype to the phenotype type is decoding. That is decoding. Encoding means we are coding this particular phenotype, the solution in the actual space, that is the particular person. In the case of traveling salesman problem, if we consider the particular person is moving from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5, etc. That sort of moving. That is the actual solution. So in the genotype, this particular solution is encoded in a way that is 1, 2, 3, etc. So that is the genotype. This process of converting phenotype to genotype is known as encoding, and the process of doing the reverse, that is genotype is converted into phenotype, that is known as decoding. So that is decoding. Decoding is the process of transforming a solution from the genotype to the phenotype. And encoding is the process of transforming from the phenotype to the genotype. For simple problems, the phenotype and the genotype spaces are the same. In the case of traveling salesman problem, both represent almost the same. That is, for simple problems, as I said, the traveling salesman problem is, in essence, it is a simple problem. Simple in the sense, the representation is simple. The representation and explanation of the problems are simple. So in problems like that, the phenotype and the genotype spaces are the same in both the cases. In genotype as well as in the phenotype, in the particular case of a traveling salesman problem, using this permutation representation, what you say, the spaces are the same. That is, both have the same space of that 9 factorial, that is elements which involves or which consists of all the permutations of numbers from 1 to 9, which the numbers are the numbers that represents the cities. So actually this decoding as well as encoding should be fast, because it is to be carried out repeatedly in a GA during the fitness value calculation. In order to calculate the GA fitness value, you have to decode the genotype into phenotype, so that you have to calculate the actual fitness value corresponding to that particular solution in the given solution space. So that is the condition, that is the decoding should be fast. So you should not go for too much complex genotype, so that if you go for too much complex genotype, in some cases you have to go for complex type genotypes, because the problem will be so complex that you have to represent all the parameters in the genotype which makes it complex. So the conversion of this genotype to phenotype should be very fast. That is very easy also, so that the GA has to repeatedly do this particular decoding times and again whenever it is trying to calculate the fitness value of a particular solution, it has to find out it. And this is the procedure, that is phenotype space as well as genotype space. From the phenotype space, encoding converts the actual solution, an actual solution space, and the actual solution into a computation space. In the computation space, this zeros and ones, it may represent a specific value, specific integer value. Maybe I'm not sure whether it is representing a specific integer value or in the actual computation space. Not in the computation space, in the actual solution space. Or it may be some selection, that is like some facility location problems. Facility location problems are the problems in which there is a number of facilities are available, number of locations, not facilities, number of locations are available. In each of the locations, you have to erase a particular facility. There is a choice that you may construct a facility in a particular location, or you may not, and that is this case. 0 means there is no facility is erected there, or facility is constructed in this particular location, and 1 means in this particular location you are constructing a particular facility. So that is the zeros and 1. Maybe that may be the representation, or maybe it is the first 2 zeros. Each value, each 2 zeros will be holding a particular integer value. 0 0 means again 0 0 0 0 0 1 means 2. Sorry, 0 1 means 1. Sorry, 0 0 means 1. 0 0 means 1. That is in binary terms. 0 0 means 1. Again 0 0, again 1. 0 1 means 1 2, and 1 1 means that is some value. I don't remember like exactly what is 1 1 represents. 3, I think. So that sort of 1 2 3 representation is the values are represented using 2 digits, 2 0 and 1s. It may be that particular sort of representation. So that is the encoding as well as decoding. So this, if this one is to be decoded in the binary form, two values for the binary. So this is to be decoded as 1, this value to be decoded as 1, this to be decoded as 2, this to be again decoded as 1, and this to be decoded as 3. So that sort of decoding is to be done, and that particular value will be here. So the solution in this case may be 1 1 and 2 1 3. That may be the representation, the actual solution representation in this case. So that sort of decoding as well as encoding procedure should be fast, so that if we have only this much value, and if you want to find out the corresponding fitness value, then it may be difficult. But instead, you may, if you have to convert that one into the actual solution space, then it is that it may be easier for you to find out the actual fitness value. So the fitness function, it is a function which it takes the solution as input and produces the stability, the suitability of the solution as the output. So fitness function is a function which it takes the actual solution or a particular solution as the input, and then it gives out a specific value, gives out a value which represents the suitability of that particular solution as a potential solution for the potential final solution for that that particular problem. A solution, any solution can be the input, and the output is the fitness of that particular. And the genetic operators, these alter the genetic composition of the offspring. That is, two parents will be there, or two or more parents will be there, or a particular population is already there, and from that particular population, we are doing some operations. That operators are known as the genetic operators. These genetic operators may be a crossover in which more than one. In most of the cases, there will be two individuals involved in that particular operator. I mean, in the crossover, and it may be a mutation that is changing a small portion of that particular solution. Then it may be a selection also, selection for the next generation. The selection can be many different types, many different positions you have to select. one is a selection for the next generation, that is from current generation and generated offsprings, whichever solutions or whichever individuals has to survive for the next generation, that is there is a selection. And in order to do a crossover procedure, you have to select the parents for that particular crossover. So that is another selection procedure. And then there may be a selection for the mutation operation also, which element or which particular individual has to undergo the mutation operation. So there is a selection. And within that particular thing also, within that particular mutation operation, once you have selected a specific individual using a selection operation, then another selection is to be done in which position this particular mutation is to be carried out. So that is another selection. So selection is a very important operator in the case of genetic algorithm, in where it has to be selected. Different types of selection procedures may have to be selected for different positions within the same genetic algorithm, that we will see later. And what we will discuss is about the simple genetic algorithm. Simple genetic algorithm is actually the original genetic algorithm put forward by John Holland. So John Holland put forward the original genetic algorithm, and it is known as the simple genetic algorithm. So the other than the simple genetic algorithm, there are other genetic algorithms which may be different, which are different in terms of representations, in terms of solution representations, in terms of the stochastic operators. The stochastic operators are the selection, crossover, as well as mutation operators. So there are different types of operators, different category of operators are being used. So that is there are different types of genetic algorithms are available.